Welcome to Chris Chocolaad Live. I'm here today with Joe from Baby Shark Beard. He's a local improviser, and we're here to talk about AC/DC, in particular Angus Young, and kind of focus on 1976 or 1975, the year of their debut Australian album, High Voltage.
Oi! All right.
How did you get into AC/DC, Joe?
Oh, man. AC/DC. So I originally got into it through wrestling, actually. My coaches were big AC/DC fans, and they played like every album during practice. That was all we listened to, like every day, was AC/DC albums. So yeah, that's kind of how.
Like Thunderstruck. I can see like Thunderstruck being blasted. TNT, Dynamite. Mm-hmm. Those are all awesome songs. They just pump you up. Like AC/DC, is just fun rock and roll. Whenever I hear AC/DC, it's just fun rock and roll. It can't be really, for me, it's like if I'm in depressed or like a kind of a bluesy mood, like AC/DC is not my go-to. AC/DC is when I want to get pumped up for something.
Yeah.
You put it on. And,
you can't listen to a track and like every track they have, it just, you're going to tap your foot to or kind of get up and it just gets you going. Yeah.
Yeah. My first AC/DC album was an 8-track of Highway to Hell. Mm-hmm. And then it was this, and then this is not my original. This is a reissue of Dirty Deeds, of AC/DC's Dirty Deeds. It came out in '76 too. It's and I love every song on this album. Like every song on this album is just so much fun. And as an adolescent listening to it, you were like you listen to this and it talks about, high voltage, TNT, concrete shoes. So it's like whenever you're mad at your teacher or something, you could put this album on and it was awesome. It was like, oh yeah, concrete. I have a connection with AC/DC,
right?
This gangster group, which was kind of cool. So that was how I got into AC/DC and listening. And I did listen. I had Dirty Deeds on vinyl originally. Put this back later. Put it in there later.
Sure.
Some of the other ones. Here's my current AC/DC collection. This is what 80. This is still with Bon Scott as lead singer. So I got Power. There we go. And then, of course, Back in Black.
Wow. Yeah.
Back in Black.
Come on, yeah. I think that's probably one of my favorite albums is Back in Black.
Mm-hmm. All time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like every song on that album is glorious.
It is. Yeah, it's awesome. It's a pump you up. It's just a pump you up album. Like Back in Black, Hell's Bells.
Yeah, and I mean it's such a iconic album too, like in the history of AC/DC, just like with everything that they went through.
Right, like the lead singer dies, Bon Scott. So you have they go through a couple. You have Dave Evans, mm-hmm. and then Bon Scott comes in and is iconic for the band a little bit. Some people call him like the heart of the band. Maybe right. Angus is the soul of the band.
Right. Yeah, he was a guy who had like a lot of personality, and people were like really attracted to that and his vocals. He was one of the best vocalists, is what I've heard. So,
and how are you going to follow up, and are you going to do well by releasing a new album? This album releases and it does. It goes platinum. So that's like, what are the odds? I don't know. Like, I'm sure there's other bands. Maybe there's another band that's done something similar, but you change out lead vocalists. Like, how do you do that and come back so strong? Which is, I think, a really, like, as I had the opportunity to kind of look into the Youngs on this. Mm-hmm. I think it really their work ethic and their teamwork and organization is just sort of a testament that they went out and found a singer. I don't think if you had a group, if you didn't have the teamwork of the Youngs in AC/DC, you wouldn't have an album come in like Back in Black. Yeah. Right. So I think maybe people underestimated the Youngs. So yeah, I got AC/DC, We Salute You. vinyl, and right now I got Fly on the Wall. I have several of them on CD. One of the ones you had talked, I didn't even know this was a thing. AC/DC was issued live. I have this on order right now at Homer's Music here in Omaha. This came out on their, was it Razor's Edge tour, and it's a really cool album. It's well recorded.
Did you get a chance to listen to that?
Yeah. I listened to the whole. Yeah, I listened to it. Okay. This whole week was nothing but AC/DC. So I couldn't be in a sad mood this week. It was nothing but AC/DC, and it has pictures from some of their concerts. Of course, Angus is in this. So it's if you're an AC/DC fan, yeah. I didn't know this. I didn't even know about the AC. I didn't know this was. I thought first it was just like a bootleg or something. I didn't know what you were talking about.
Oh, really?
And so when I got it, I was like, oh no, this is
yeah, that was one of their live tours.
And so I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought what's the lineup? What's the music lineup on there? I think it's when they're on tour, they play all their favorites. So what was it? Thunderstruck, Shoot the Thrill, Back in Black, Who May Who, Heat Seeker, The Jack. The Jack always cracks me up. Money Talks, Hell's Bells, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Another one that cracks me up. You Shook Me All Night Long, Highway to Hell, TNT. For Those About to rock, we salute you. I mean, my God. You listen to that lineup. You're like, wait, that can't be all one band. There's got to be somebody else in there.
It's amazing.
And then all of a sudden you're like, no, that is just one amazing. It's just some like good fun. Because it's also much fun music. It's like, how do you get so many fun songs out of one band? Which it was all AC/DC. And as we had been talking about AC/DC, and at first like who should we talk about from AC/DC? You talk about Bon Scott. You talk about the first singer, Dave Evans. You talk about Brian Johnson. But then as I started digging just a little bit, you're like, wait, this band is about Malcolm and Angus Young and George Young. And this is like Bon Scott, maybe the guy. I mean, if he was the heart, but I mean, you don't have AC/DC. I don't see how you have AC/DC without Angus Young.
Right. Yeah, one of the things that I thought was kind of cool about him was like they talked about like AC/DC, like the band's work ethic was they pretty much. I mean, they put the music first, like above everything else that they did. And I know like Angus, he was known like he didn't really drink that much. He smoked a lot, and he drank a lot of tea. But he kind of strayed away from, I guess like drugs and stuff like that gets so sometimes associated with the whole rock and roll scene.
Yeah, I kind of have a question about that. Maybe how did Angus get to be like what made him like stray away from wanting to go like into the rock and roll, and like what's his perception of people talk about sex, drugs, and rock and roll,
right,
but the drug part seems more of a marketing gimmick to tell society these guys are counterculture, where when you look at these guys and their creativity, it's the guys that seem to do really well are the ones that know how to moderate. And they come out with this amazing music. When they overdose, they don't do well. They don't come up with the creativity.
Right.
We had talked about Steppenwolf like last week, and we look at John Kay. He also has this huge work ethic, and he's good at firing people when they can't show up sober. And AC/DC in some ways, and AC/DC in some ways does the same thing. If someone shows up and they're not sober, they're like, "You're fired, man. We can't have." They're professional musicians, and they're saying like,
"Put that first." That was really cool.
Yeah. So what's the question there for Angus Young?
I would like to know his. I mean, so was his motivation? I mean, was he just wasn't into drugs, maybe, or like kind of what was, I guess, behind that? you know.
Yeah. So his brother, I guess, had to take a spell. He took a short stint away. Was it because his brother's usage, or was like, when he was in the band? There's that story about the drummer. That was Colin Burgess, and I saw there's an interview of him, and he talks about like, all right, right before the set, I hadn't eaten. I do a quick hit of some kind of drink, and then when he's on stage, like people who watched me said I just flopped over, and right after that, like Malcolm came and fired me. So
oh wow.
And so he went on and did other great things. He said that never happened to me again.
Right.
But I think that one was, it talks to the seriousness of Malcolm and Angus.
Work ethic, yeah.
Yeah, and Angus would have that would have been, did that episode like influence him, like you were talking about?
Yeah, I could see it. Yeah, some possibly.
Or was it something with his parents? So that I think that kind of gets me to like maybe question 2.
I kind of think that it was like, we've been talking about the work ethic, right? And these guys have been they've been going on tour like, the past few years. They've been still on tour, man.
Yeah, with Axl Rose as the lead singer, right? You got Angus. Malcolm died a few years ago, and so you still have Angus,
right?
And they brought in Axl to sing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was. That's crazy. I just think it's amazing that they've been rocking that long and doing their thing. So
right, and that's when we talked about John Kay. I think it was much like that. It was just these guys really have a strong underlying work ethic, and like what drives that. So some of my questions are around it. Like how when you listen to the music they're coming up with, he obviously loves playing that guitar. What's that underlying thing that's driving him to say, hey, I'm going to keep making this band successful because I'm not going into the movies. I'm not going to go be a producer. What drives an individual to just stay on the course as long as he's had and made those hard decisions of telling people you like and probably love that, hey, man, you're fired. You can't be part of this band anymore.
Right.
So I think, like, on that note, I think we're on like question 2 is on that work ethic. I want to go back to when 1963, when he's back in England.
Okay.
And the winter is so cold. Like England, like the United Kingdom hasn't seen a winter like this, I guess, since the 1600s or something. I may be off on that, but it was so cold. Like the fountains in downtown London are freezing. Oh, wow. Rivers are freezing over. And the context of that would have been people are paying a lot. They're probably using maybe coal or natural gas to heat their homes. Mm-hmm. It's really expensive at that time. Mm-hmm. And so they're probably spending a ton of money, and this winter just goes on and on. It goes from November maybe all the way to March. And so you're having to heat your home that long.
Wow.
I know. And the family, like the family decides, look, we can't afford this. There's an advertisement on TV that says, hey, we need people in Australia. We're not all criminals anymore. So they, right?
Yeah.
and so they go down to Australia, and then so they pick up the family in 63 and just go down to Australia.
I dig it. Heck yeah. Don't you think like anybody that has that long of a winter, that's enough to drive anybody to be like, you know what? Screw this. Let's go to Australia.
So you think
it's beautiful? Australia's like gorgeous, right?
Well, I don't think you know that right now. Like, I don't think they would have known like what Australia looked like.
Well, they had to know it was hot, right? It's an island.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. So you think that's what the conversation was like? So it would be like dad comes in and it's like, all right, sons.
That's true. Who pushed it?
Today we, this past winter has been really cold. So obviously the answer is we're moving down to Australia.
Well, if I had, 6 brothers and a sister, was it, or something like that? And you have all those mouths that A, the father has to feed, and then B, you're trying to get some food. It would just kind of be like, boy, if we don't go somewhere else that has food, I'm going to lose my mind.
So you think the dad wants steak? That's what's like, Like
no, I'm saying like the dad. Yeah, he's the one who's got to go out and provide for the kids. But I'm saying like
because he's hungry.
Like Angus.
Oh, Angus.
Angus
is
man.
hungry.
Yeah, because he was one of the younger siblings.
Right.
So he probably got to the whatever they were eating later after everybody else eat. Like, I mean, obviously your older brothers and sisters are gonna be like, you get the table scraps, right?
So Angus's motivation is that he's not getting any food at the table because his older brothers are eating. So when the family meatloaf comes out, like there's by the time he gets to the meatloaf, there's like none left.
I feel like, yeah, possibly. I mean, he was a skinny guy. That might have had something to do with it. When I was young or in high school, I was freaking like, 112 pounds. And I'm going to tell you, it's because I had a younger brother, but it was because of siblings. It was because I didn't eat too much.
So wait, so you didn't eat as much because of your siblings?
Well, I mean, I did. I don't know if it was completely up to my siblings. Yes, it was completely my younger brother. He was a lot bigger than I am, and he pretty much said, "Listen, all right, I get what I want for food, and then you can have this." No, I'm just kidding. My younger brother is great. That's a tangent we don't need to go on.
This is live, Joe. I think your little brother already heard it. So he's still bigger than you?
He is bigger than me. Yeah.
And where does he live?
He lives in Chicago right now.
Well, you got 4 hours to prepare for Joe's brother showing up.
Right? Hey! What was that bullcrap? No, he's really nice. He doesn't even sound like that at all.
You can try to make up now. It's fine, Joe. So that's interesting. So you think Angus is not getting fed, and so he would have been cool coming to Australia. So that may not be like his mind is Australia is.
I feel like he would have been up for it. I mean, I think they all would have been up for it. A winter that long, it's cold, portions are low. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna stay there? You can stay there and stay where it's the
like right now. The only thing, like I've been to Australia, but before I've been to Australia, I've like everything you hear about Australia is death. Like they got the box jellyfish will kill you. You have the saltwater crocodiles because why not? Yeah. Like so you go swimming in the salt water, they kill you. Oh, you're in the outback.
Dangerous place.
They kill you. Koala bears, they're not cute. They got claws and massive teeth and will eat you.
I did not know that.
Yes, koala bears, like they're not cuddly. They're like they got massive claws. Do not mess with the koala bear.
I blame toy companies for that misconception of koala bears.
Yes, like everything in Australia will kill you. Like this normal stuff will kill you. Right. I remember we went for a jog in Australia, and all of a sudden, a pack of pit bulls show up. I was like, "This is perfect. This is just perfect." We're in a neighborhood, and a pack of pit bulls show up on the run. So what are we gonna do now? So
you're gonna get some extra exercise. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, we're like, all right, don't make eye contact with the dogs. We're going to go another route and try to get out of there, which we did. And we didn't get eaten by obviously I'm still alive, so the pit bulls didn't eat me. But that's what I imagine that's what they would have said. I mean, if you were in the UK and they have like free boat rides to Australia, I'm thinking most people are still thinking it's a penal colony. Like
I'm thinking, what are we still doing here? Let's go. Like I would be gone. Like I think as soon as you said free ride, I was like, bye.
But I would say like in 1965, wouldn't it be like if someone said, "Hey, Joe, let's move to Mississippi"? Yeah.
Am I well educated? Do I know what Mississippi is?
Like right now, if someone said, okay, "I'll give you a free bus ride to nowhere, Mississippi," would you be like, "Yes, this sounds like a good idea"?
Okay. And Mississippi is which state again? From Mississippi. I'm just kidding. Yeah, if Mississippi, I really don't know much about, but you know what? Hey, it would be a cool place to check out.
So someone just said, "Here's a free ticket to go to Mississippi." You're like,
I've never been.
You're like, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
I think Alaska has probably got some free tickets too. Like you can go to Juneau,
Well, yeah, isn't there some places there that they'll actually still pay you to homestead?
Yeah, there's places in Nebraska that will pay you to move. There's small towns in Nebraska that will
move there.
Yeah, to move there.
Boy, that's cool. I like small towns.
So Joe's like, you're not going to be here next week because you're going to be leaving. All right, let's go to question 3. What's your third question? I think we're in question 3.
Oh, sure. I got some questions.
Yeah.
All right. So, One of mine was when they kicked off their tour in London, right? They arrived in London, and that was like when punk was really starting to get started, right? It was really starting to take off. Yeah. And they got labeled as a punk band, you know, whether it was through marketing or just word of mouth or whatever it was. I was always curious, you know.
Well, I think because you had Angus in the schoolboy outfit.
Yeah.
They're coming out of Australia, so people don't quite know what to... I mean, they're pretty... I mean, they're hard rock.
Yeah, they're rock and roll.
They're rock and roll. And so there's... I mean, it's 75, so you have...
High voltage is... Right, you get...
You have high voltage TNT, so the
TNT, yeah,
that's the two Australian ones.
So, yeah, dude, I mean, that's a pretty rock and roll track. Like, I think for me, I guess I'm just curious, like, I'm sure it didn't bother them, but at the same time, like, they're playing to a different crowd, like, than they're probably used to.
Yeah, well, but punk was still being defined. And so it was like, I think people were still defining what is punk.
What is punk? Okay.
Yeah, so it was probably, what's punk. So what's the question? So your question is how much did them getting labeled as a punk band when they in their debut in 75, did that concern them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, were they kind of like, okay, well, that's nice, but we're really trying to play rock and roll here. So if you could just label us as a rock and roll band.
But you're not a rock and roll band. You're clearly punk. You've got this 20-year-old in a schoolboy outfit.
Here's the thing. Rock and roll is about doing what you want to do, and I like to wear a schoolboy outfit, and I rock and shred on the guitar, okay?
And that sounds exactly like a punk band. That's why we're gonna market you as a punk band.
Okay, but I got the shaggy hair, man. He doesn't have a mohawk, right? See a mohawk on my head? Nope.
Now I see. All right, so it all came down to the hair. So really,
it felt like it was.
If they had,
well, it's a good indicator, right?
If they stuck, yeah. So especially with Bon Scott up front, they no longer. Maybe if they had stuck with a glam type look when they had that little period there where they went kind of glamish. If they went glamish and they had that sound, maybe they would have gotten permanently. Maybe they would have been. But the hair, I never thought about that. Like, you're punk by looking at the hair.
Hair tells a lot about a person, yeah. I think.
But bands too,
and
like
bands.
music too.
Yeah,
you
bands
can tell.
too, yeah.
I mean, I think of the hair '80s with all the big
blowouts,
like Poison and
long shaggy hair. That's rock
right.
and roll. I think, right? I don't know. I mean,
then you have the counter with the grunge. I think maybe you're onto something. So maybe it was the hair. Maybe that's what the executives, they would have understood the hair and they said, okay, got it. Yeah, the hair is different. And then
plus TNT. I mean, come on, man. That's pure rock and roll, right?
Yes. Yeah. So that brings question 4.
Okay.
Question 4. So Angus's. There's a couple interviews with people that went to high school and grade school with Angus, and one thing they remember is that Angus always had to come home and like do his homework, and then right after doing his homework, he had to go to guitar lessons. And so, how much did that sort of like if he thinks about his 1975 self and how hard he's working, was that somewhat of a pattern that got built up because like when he was at home, like he had to come home, he had to do his homework and then go play the guitar. And so how much of that was just like mom and dad just kind of grinding into him, like you will play the guitar, and if you're not playing the guitar, he has a sort of existential crisis or something that forces him, like how much did that like his parents
affect, was that I guess maybe it could have been a motivating factor in the beginning, right? I mean, we really don't know, but I feel like once he picked up the guitar, he would run home from school, right, to play his guitar, and he was still in his schoolboy outfit. Like that's kind of where he got the deal for the schoolboy outfit. So obviously,
so I heard his sister. I heard it was like he's 18 or 19. I heard his sister came up with the idea of having him wear the schoolboy outfit.
Right. I heard that too, but I thought thought it originated from her seeing him like in his room, like after school, doing that.
Yeah, maybe because he was so young compared to the rest of the band, maybe. So
either way, I feel like Angus it was definitely like in the guitar, you know, like that's what you could tell that he loves playing guitar, obviously. And
yeah, he's good. I mean, at some point, I mean, when he first started, he probably didn't love it. Like he finally, at some point, like you think he loved it right away.
I don't know. I think any kid like learning an instrument. First of all, I've tried to read music and I've tried to learn to play the guitar. It is not easy.
You know, was it on Apple? They have no, I can't even think of the name. It's a guitar studio, and it has guitar lessons built in.
Really?
We should try it.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, it's an app that teaches you how to play guitar.
You can actually use it. I'm using it to take these live broadcasts and cut it over to a podcast.
Okay.
But you can lay down multiple tracks. Like I've used it a couple different times, but you can put like a drums track down. You can put a vocal track, so you can merge tracks. It's basically like a digital instead of like the old mixers. It's a digital mixer, and inside of it they have you can set your microphone up and it will run you through guitar lessons.
Okay, very cool.
I'm not sure what our question was.
I forgot as well.
We're talking about Angus and guitar lessons.
Oh yeah, and his parents, you know, whether they were kind of pushing their kids. Yeah, I don't know, because I mean I know everybody in the family, they were kind of a music family, you know, so everybody kind of had their thing. Like, hey, an interesting thing for me is maybe he didn't want to play the guitar. Like maybe he was like, hey, Mom, I'd rather play the trumpet.
What?
Yeah.
We're not a woodwind family.
Well, I want it to play it.
Angus, you're going to... What will your father say?
Listen, Dad's not home yet. Dad's working, okay?
Don't talk back to me, young man.
Mom.
Angus.
Mom.
Angus.
Mom.
Don't talk back to me.
Just let me play the trumpet.
Do not talk back to me, Angus.
Wait, just maybe if you could just listen to what I can do.
Listen. Angus, listen to your mother.
Okay.
Put down that... I don't know where you got that. Put away that instrument. Angus. Angus, your father works at a factory all day long. When he comes home, do you think he's going to have to pull out the belt?
No.
Then let's get the guitar. Angus! probably.
I feel like
that probably exactly happened. That's probably exactly what happened.
Like, I won't want to get smacked with a belt, so all right, you win.
I don't know. I just feel like in 1960s Australia, corporal punishment was still accepted. So that's why I don't know that would have happened. I just feel like...
What doesn't matter if it's a belt or a hand, it's still going to hurt like shit.
It felt like people still spanked. Okay, let's go to question 4. What do you have?
Oh, man, I just was thinking about like when your mom spanks you compared to like when your dad spanks you. And I was like, when I used to get in trouble, like my mom would spank me and I'd have to like pretend like it hurt. And
you didn't want dad.
Yeah.
You want to make her like so mad that was like...
She's like, wait till your dad gets home.
You're like, wait. But like, that's so perverse. It's like you're trying to pretend that it doesn't hurt too bad. So so she so like real pain doesn't happen.
Yeah. Oh, it kind of hurts. But she eventually caught on, and then she'd be like, wait till your dad gets home. And you're like, shit. Being spanked, it just sucks, man. It's so, it stings the buttocks. Or smacked up, or spanked. You get spanked upside the head, it hurts. Okay, next question. So, they lived in Australia, right? It's So one of my questions is, they're rock and roll, man. They probably spent some time at the beach, hanging out.
They probably did. I mean, Australia has a lot of coastline.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So, hey, Angus, did you know how to surf? Did you pick up surfing? Did you like surfing?
See, I wonder. I mean, there's definitely surfers out of Australia, but I feel like you have great white sharks down there. You got the box jellyfish. I mean, I've been scuba diving down there, but I always had like the suits on.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't.
Wait, does the suit prevent you from like if you get bit or something? Or
well, not from a great white shark. It doesn't help.
No.
But from a box jellyfish or from
it'll help you.
It's just like a lycra suit you can put on or a wetsuit, right? It's like you put a wetsuit on. And,
I'll put it out right here on this live event. I love surfing, right?
So you actually think you wear a wetsuit?
Yeah, but I'm scared of sharks, man. Like, it freaks me out.
Well, most sharks are friendly.
Most sharks are friendly?
Yeah, there's only like 3
until
species.
They mistaken identity. They think you're food, and they.
It's just like bull sharks, tiger sharks, and great whites, and it's really rare to see any of those 3.
So they are very nice.
Yeah, you can go like I've scuba dived with hundreds of sharks before, and they just kind of check you out and they leave you alone. Like black tip sharks, reef sharks, hammerheads. If they mistake you for something like a walrus, then they bite you maybe, or if you're something shiny, or if you're like sticking your hand in their eye, they'll bite you. But most sharks won't. Like it's a bull shark or a tiger shark or a great white. Okay. Great whites are really rare.
So
we're killing too many sharks.
We're killing too many sharks?
Yeah, we're killing way too many sharks.
Why are people killing sharks?
Well, for their fins, I think there's a shark fin soup, which is a thing. I think it has to do with stamina. There's a lot of silliness that goes in with shark fin soup. So they chop the shark fin off, and they throw the rest of the body in the water. So it's pretty terrible.
That's messed up. Yeah.
So you want to just know if Angus surfed?
Yeah, I was just curious. I was just curious if he's been surfing before. Yeah, that's about it.
I think once he started touring, probably his surfing career died down. Obviously, because they were on tour a lot. I mean, there are just so many live concerts.
Yeah.
But growing up, I think that's a good question. I think surfing gives you. Where have you surfed at?
I've actually. So I went to Hawaii on a trip in Hawaii in like 7th grade in Honolulu, and we did a lot more. What do you call it? Maybe it's boogie boarding. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved it, man. I had a blast. But I also was like, I'm just so afraid because, like, you can't see into the water. So you don't know what's down there, man. Like, that's scary. There could be a shark, like, right next to you, and you're just like, gotta let it go, man. Just gotta get out there.
When you get up, if you ever get a chance to do, like, a helicopter ride or I did a blimp ride. If you go over the ocean, you can see all the sharks all swimming.
Oh, that would freak me out.
Then you can see the friendly sharks.
It would really be crazy. Yeah, like, Oh, and off to our left here, you will see that there is a reef. We call this the home of the hammerhead shark, where there's over 200 different species of hammerhead sharks. And then you go over to look over the edge of the basket, and someone pushes you off. That's like...
What would happen? Nothing.
Yeah. You would fall into the water with all the sharks.
Well, so usually under the ocean, there's sharks in the ocean. So there's like hundreds of sharks always in the ocean.
I don't get it. Like, we have 2 different conceptions of how this would go down. You are like, you would fall in the water, and they would be like, "Hey, what's going on? You all right? That was quite a fall." And like, it would be cotton candy and popcorn.
No, the sharks. I guess just because when I've dove with sharks, it's not a big deal. The only time I was a little bit weirded out with sharks was with my ex. We were doing this dive, and we went down, and all of a sudden we saw a school. It must have been like a school of 30 black-tip sharks, and they're cruising around, and I think they were black-tip, and they it was a little bit deceptive. They were deeper than what we thought. So I'm watching the depth gauge. Yeah. She is not watching the depth gauge, and so we're going. So I think we start out at like 60 feet. And then she spots the school, and she wants to swim towards the school, which it's cool. So we're gonna go so we can get a better view of these sharks. And so we start swimming towards them, but then I'm looking at the depth gauge, and then all of a sudden we're like 70, and we're at 90 feet. Now we're like 105, and she's like way ahead of me. And so now I have to expend, like you're trying to conserve air and not get yourself too much nitrogen in your blood. Yeah. So I'm like so deep. I'm like I don't want to go like super. Like I'm like kicking, trying to catch it. And I finally tug on her. I'm like, we're deep.
We're deep. Yeah, we are way too close to these sharks. It's time to go back.
It wasn't the shark. It was we're getting too deep under the like we should not be at 105. Wow. We shouldn't be because you only got a limited amount of time. You get less air and you get nice. So we just did a nice view and came back up. But she was so enthralled with these sharks. I was like, I'm out to get narked out here because of she loves these sharks and we're going to die. Was kind of what I thought. Not because of the sharks, but because she just wanted to look at the shark. That's what I remember. I look at those. But that has nothing to do with Angus.
We went off
tangent there. I'm sure. But you want to know if Angus surfed. So because you're like surfing. He's from Australia. They don't really have any. Like I'm trying to think of. None of their songs are really about the ocean. Like it's not like a beach. They're definitely not a surf.
Yeah, no. Like
band.
Like the Beach Boys. And
But it is a good question. I think. When I think of surfing, one of the things I always think about is like it teaches you to go with the flow. Like if you try to fight a wave, you're going to lose. You cannot fight a wave. You catch a wave. Like you learn to go with the wave, and the better you go with the wave, then you go places. So it's like if you go with the flow, if you try to fight the flow, then you don't do well. So it's sort of like how do you harness that energy and if you harness the energy, you can go places you want to go with. If you try to fight it, you try to fight that Mother Earth flow, I guess, and you don't do well. So that's kind of like maybe that, to me, that's the lesson I always, like if I walked out of surfing with, we probably talked about too much about surfing and sharks at this point. We probably have University of Florida's one oceanographer that's going to want to listen to this now. Dave Evans. So my question is, I got a question. So he's part of the original AC/DC group, and George, I think, is obviously talking to Angus and Malcolm about what they need to do. George Young was in Easy Beats, which have made it worldwide, famous band. So it was a great resource for them. What was it about Dave Evans that started rubbing you guys wrong? Was it just like you guys didn't work well together? He just wasn't right for the band? I mean, Dave, in the interviews I see of him, he kind of talks about it a little bit. I'd just be interested in like what your take was. Like not, and really I would, if I was having a beer with Angus, like what that conversation would be. Not something like, what is his kind of perception of why they go with Bon Scott? Was it just purely a business decision? And if it was, when I said business, what was best for the band? Mm-hmm. And if it was, George Camp. If it was, then that kind of talks about their work ethic and just how much they the brothers just had this vision for the band, and then they.
I think that's where a lot of that came from. Yeah, they kind of followed what they felt with that, especially with adding Bon Scott. So, which can we talk about their debut for their first? What was it? Video appearance. Did you see that?
You have to. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about.
It was on like I think it was not a radio show, but like a late night type show. Yeah. And it was their first like musical appearance where they were going to be broadcasted on live television. So, and Angus Young is there, right? And he's dressed up in his, schoolboy outfit. And then Bon Scott was there. He was dressed up. He had like a girl's wig on. He was dressed up like a woman.
Yeah.
It was hilarious, man. Like, it was pretty funny.
And that was all. So right. And so like no one had seen or dressing up as a woman was seen as very culture.
Yeah,
like, against the rules.
Definitely like an AC/DC like vibe, like feel. Yeah, just like that, sticking their hand up to authority and stuff. Cool.
So, what is your question?
I don't have a question about it. I just thought it was cool.
You thought it was cool?
Yeah, just cool. That was like their like debut for that, and they were like, you know what?
Well, you think they planned it? Like Angus was like, hey Bon, I dare you to put on that women's wig and when we go on air.
I feel like that may have it could have been something. Yeah.
You think it was just a dare, or
could have been
Bon?
I feel like it was more of like just Bon's like, you know, part of his like personality to be like, oh, I'll dress up as a girl and go for our debut on television or whatever and play this song, and it's like that would be really funny, and it's be like, that's rock and roll, man, do it, and they went after it and did it.
So what's rock and roll about that?
What's rock and roll about that? The fact that it's their television debut,
and they don't care what.
We don't care what we
look like.
Being themselves, which was really cool.
Just give us attention. We'll do the rest of the interview. I think Scamper keeps pawing at me. I think he wants to go outside. So that's good. That's good. So what was going on? I think that's a good question. What was going on with that first interview? Would you guys plan it, or like you're saying, it was just like? See, there's other times when they really do pick out what they're going to wear. Now that you bring that up,
yeah.
Because like before Bon Scott comes on, and before they go, they kind of do this. They have the schoolboy outfit, but then everybody is wearing like you get Dave Evans. Everybody has a different costume they wear. I think Malcolm is wearing like a white jumpsuit.
Really?
Yeah, this is before they go to everybody in jeans and t-shirts, and then it's just Angus in the schoolboy outfit.
Okay.
And then at some point, Angus and Malcolm decide, or Malcolm talks to George, and there's kind of a conversation that happens. And they're just like, okay, everybody's gonna wear jeans and shirts now, and it's gonna be just Angus in the schoolboy outfit. And so it wasn't spontaneous. It was actually a plan. It was a planned decision because other bands started wearing crazy stuff, and they're like, all right, how do we differentiate ourselves from these other bands? What can we do to be different and catch people's? It was like marketing.
Oh,
right. This was like Instagram.
Yeah,
like their Instagram.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it was catchy. It was their thing that made them stand out. Just like more that made them stand out, I guess.
Yeah, so their outrage at that time was putting on a woman's wig. It was like all they had to do was by him putting on that women's wig was like it became viral. It was like a viral event, maybe.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Maybe that was the.
Did you see that craziness?
Yeah, and then it makes the headlines, and then all of a sudden the Washington Post would have been reporting, deranged, degenerate band shows up live on radio, and of course they get all the publicity off it.
Right.
And
they got really good music, so check them out.
Because they're deranged. Whatever you do, don't let your daughters listen to this band. As soon as they say that, right, every daughter out there is going to be like, I want to listen to AC/DC. Because they're like, they're going to be like, this is what we want to do. Okay, so we go. That is a good question. So that was like the cost. Like, what about that cost? Was it planned or was that spontaneous?
Yeah.
I think it was really because they seem very methodical in planning.
Yeah, I feel like it would
there.
have been planned. Yeah.
So it goes question 6. Is that over to me? Dave Evans has this awesome story where Angus, they're playing at Checkers in Australia, and they have opportunities, or sometimes they're playing and then they're done with their set, and so Angus and Malcolm just start jamming, and Dave improvs lyrics on the fly
really?
while they're and it was awesome. He goes, yeah, because there was a couple of cool things in his interview. He said that, at that time the Aussies liked bands that came out fast and hard and then ended even harder. He's like, because you wouldn't do well in the scene if you didn't do that. They weren't into the hippie music. They weren't like, a lot of the scene in Australia in '75, they said, was just this, the crowds wanted you to come out hard and loud, and so they would just start jamming, like Angus and Malcolm, which that means you got to think about like how well you have to work with each other to be able to jam like that,
right?
Like as a band, and then Dave just kind of being able to improv lyrics on the fly to whatever music they're coming up with. And I think if I remember some of the interviews right, they actually, some of their songs come out that way, where Angus and Malcolm, they go back and where they get they start working some music out. They call the drummer in, and then the bass, and then they all start they start coming up with the music, and then they bring the vocalist in to lay down some vocals on the tracks. My kind of question is, would Angus ever do an improv concert? All right, just like what I mean, like, or put together an improv concert with. Wouldn't it be cool to have like the band, just like you bring the band together, you bring Angus out there on his guitar, just jam, and then have a bring a vocalist in to improv out the lyrics, and do that for 45 minutes, or do that 45-minute or hour concert. Wouldn't that be fun?
Heck yeah,
that'd be cool to see. It's kind of a question. That would be my question. Would you do that? So when I heard that story from Dave, made me think. I was like, man, that is awesome that they were talented, it's kind of very jazzy sort of thing to do,
right?
And fun. All right, that brings us down to question. We're at 7. I think we're on question 7. Yes.
Oh yeah, we're on 7.
Oop, wrong side. Question 6 will now be question 7.
Oh wow, I see what happened there. Pretty cool.
The magic of computer.
All right. You want me to go for question 7? Skimper.
Okay, he just doesn't want to be pushed off.
You know what? Okay, so going back to, I don't have a question 7, but this is something that I would like to know.
Or just a question. I got a couple other questions.
Well,
riff off. But what do you want to know?
I feel like you're gonna want to hear this question.
Okay, I want to hear.
Okay,
I do.
So, going back to Angus Young, right?
Yep.
Lived in Australia. Well, they got Australia cuisine, so I was thinking Vegemite, right? So this is Vegemite.
Oh, Vegemite.
Big.
Oh, I like Vegemite.
Do you really?
I do like Vegemite.
Okay, so I feel like you would get along good. So I was just wondering if he liked Vegemite.
Does he like Vegemite?
Some people either love it or you either like Vegemite or you don't like Vegemite. It's like Spam.
Yeah, I don't know if Angus could publicly come out and say he doesn't like Vegemite. I mean, maybe now he probably could. I mean, he can do whatever he wants. It's like, I don't like, do Australians, can an Australia, and could any Australian come out and publicly say,
don't like Vegemite?
I don't like Vegemite? Would Australia disown you? Do you become...
It's that big? Like a thing?
Like it is big. Like Vegemite's big down there. It's like an American... It's like saying like an American saying, I don't like apple pie. Or... Like, you can not like baseball, but still you're like... you
like apple pie? Get out!
Get out! ICE is coming if you do not like apple pie. If you do not like... It's like the test, right? Like, you have to like... Americans baseball at apple pie. So I think Vegemite is an Australian as Vegemite and Skippy the kangaroo.
Right. Oh, speaking of kangaroos, those are freaking awesome. Kangaroos, man. You ever seen those things? Like, just
I've seen a kangaroo.
Those are awesome. I want to see one so bad. They just jump around and they can like do their kick thing. It's like a giant dog you just want to play with, but they can also kick you. Sorry. Side deal. I really want to see a kangaroo. It's on my bucket list.
On your bucket list. Have you tried? Did you try Vegemite?
I've never had it. No, I heard that's a big thing over there.
Well, the key to Vegemite is having good butter.
Okay.
And you put a lot of butter on a piece of bread, and already you got a winner there. Like a nice piece of bread with a lot of good butter on it.
Why do I need the Vegemite?
The Vegemite is super salty.
Okay.
It's like it's like, I think it's condensed yeast extract. And so then you put this condensed yeast extract. So you put that in with a lot of butter. It's good. Balanced. It's almost like the other thing I like doing that's kind of like that is with salted bluefish. Like you get salted, it's really salted, like super salted bluefish, and you do the same thing. Put a ton of butter on a piece of bread, and then you toast it, and it's so good. It is so yummy. Vegemite is in the same kind of group.
Okay.
with that. I don't have any right now. It's one of those things where I find in the U.S. like if I have Vegemite, I find I'm typically the only
you're the only guy at the table eating it.
Or if I have it in the fridge, it doesn't like I tend not to offer it. Like I offer it to people, but then people are like they like Nutella, but they don't. It's just like sweet.
Well, yeah,
we like everything sugar.
Yeah, one tastes like sugar and others a little bit salty.
Yeah, it's super salty. So now I probably just put salt on my butter with a piece of bread, and that's pretty
good enough.
Vegemite. So does Angus like Vegemite? I think that's a fair question.
In or out?
But I think to answer that question, you first have to answer like can you be Australian and publicly come out and say I don't like Vegemite? I don't know what like in secret you can say I don't like it, but maybe not. So there might be another. You have to go meet him and have a beer.
It's like a Smirnoff, maybe.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, he could say in private, like, if you're having a beer with him, he could be like, yeah, I really don't like Vegemite. But, like, in public, like, he couldn't publicly come out and like, if you're a hero in the Australian public's mind, like, they're an icon, can you come out and say,
yeah, Vegemite,
It was sort of like, remember when George W. Bush, I don't even remember this, he came out and said, I don't like broccoli. He said, I don't like broccoli. It's like, I'm president of the United States now. It's like, I don't like broccoli since I was a kid. And then all of a sudden, like, even though, like, most people were like, I don't know if you should be able to say that, Mr. President. Like, we want all our kids to eat broccoli. And, like, the Broccoli Association immediately sent, like, a truckload, like, a dump truck of broccoli out to the White House.
Did they really?
Yeah. Oh so it was a big controversy on it. So I don't, like, that's what I was saying. Like, if you came out and publicly said, I don't like Vegemite, like,
that's crazy.
Like, that may not be.
I guess, man. People, I mean, you say what you want to say, but that's crazy.
Good question. I think we're at question 8.
Question 8.
Question 8.
Let's go. Make a movie magic. Question 8.
This has to do with the drum. I think we kind of talked about that. I was just they fire a lot of folks. So they call them. It was when the drummer gets fired and they effectively fire Dave. This is almost like John Kay. I mean, my question here is maybe should have Angus or maybe Malcolm been the host of Apprentice? Like I asked last week, should John Kay have been the host of The Apprentice? But because they seem to they're so focused on keeping AC/DC on track with the specific sound they have on mine.
Yeah.
Like Dave, there's a statement he made. It was like they want us to toe the line. He's like, I'm a young guy at this point, and like towing the line is not something I want to do. But Malcolm and Angus, they talk to George, who's done easy beats, understands what it takes, and they're talking about towing the line. So these guys are okay with like, man, you're not making the cut, you're fired.
Right.
Should they have been maybe in the Australian prequel or the current? Should they have been The Apprentice?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I don't know. I feel like they kind of knew what they wanted, and they kind of, like I said, they kind of went with, I feel like, what they felt, right? So if it didn't feel right to them, they just kind of, they had what they were going for, and if it didn't fall in line where they were trying to sail their ship, well, walk the plank.
They had their vision. If it didn't fit within their vision, then I think Bon Scott got that. There's an interview with him when he's talking to the band, and he comes in to sing, and he listens to them sing, and he's like, man, I gave it everything I had. I think I understood what they were looking for, and so I made sure I did. I put everything out there to deliver it. I think he was in the band. What was it? He was right before that was I can't remember the name of it. It was he's in this band beforehand, and it's a psych band, and they do okay out in Australia. They come in the UK and the Valentines, and they don't do well in the UK. And so the part of the Valentines is they decide to this is talking about Bon Scott, is they're all right, so they get this house where they're doing a lot of mushrooms. They're just doing a ton of mushrooms in this house and jamming. And so the idea is they're kind of doing they're doing LSD and jamming, so they're coming up with psych music. But that band just has like a very mediocre success after it, right? They don't go international. They still have, I mean, I'm not saying they didn't have fun, but so this Bon Scott leaves that experience. He's with one other band, but after that, he's driven now too, and he has this experience of okay, let's try this movement of let's do LSD and jam and see what happens. But he tries that and it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work very well at all. And so then he sees AC/DC, and now he wants to go and fit in with them. So now he's like I've tried this. If it were, if maybe I have to bend my will to theirs, or maybe, you know what I mean? Like maybe I need to change what I'm doing to fit their vision. Yeah. And so I, did that happen with Bon Scott? And then was that kind of, as Malcolm and Angus, as they seem to talk to each other on Who the Fire, is that what kind of attracts, I guess my question would be did Bon Scott's sort of attitude of being able to be kind of moldable to Angus and Malcolm's vision, was that the kind of real attraction there, so that they now have a lead singer they can work with together, and it's like they can kind of bend together, where Dave seemed maybe a little bit more, he didn't maybe have that experience of failure of like Bon Scott had, and so wasn't as moldable. Right. So that's my question. Kitty Cat is attacking the house.
Cat. He's just getting himself a snack. Yeah. Just open up the cupboard.
He just opened up the cupboard. He's like, what is going on?
I think that's the can opener. I feel like he's just opened up a can of tuna.
He's
really getting after it.
He's opened up all the cupboards now.
It sounds like he's running a
We're on question 9. We're in question 9. We're gonna have to. He's back in here. We're going to get bit here soon. He's oh Lord. Okay, so question 9. Let me back up. So George, I think you got to. We talk about Angus, older brother George, being in Easy Beats and having this international success.
Yeah.
Do you think does that give Angus confidence? I would want to know what is in Angus's head in '75 as he's coming on board, and he's gonna be in the schoolboy outfit. It's like they have this secret weapon of George.
Yeah,
that's been in this. Experience. He's been in a band that's been successful. Mm-hmm. Is he confident, or is he what is he feeling in '70? Or is he like, man, my brothers? I mean, I love playing guitar, but I'm not sure what I'm doing, or did having that experience of watching George be successful just give him confidence?
Oh, Angus, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it did. I mean, I would just think so, having an older brother that went out and kind of, had some success in the same, path and dream that you're trying to chase down, right? And his brother kind of, I think, guided it. His older brother George, obviously he was a producer for him, so he helped kind of like guide them a little bit.
But I think you said something interesting there, which was, kind of guide them, or had this, he was internationally successful. Oh, yeah. How much did that also just kind of drive their vision? So because it seemed like all the interviews I watched of Angus, he kind of mentions that he doesn't want to work in a factory. He wants to play like anything is better, so he doesn't end up in a factory.
Right. And
so it's like, I don't think maybe he'd be okay probably with, it sounds like he'd be okay surfing all day as long as he didn't get him in the factory. But it's like, I know how to play guitar, and so this is going to get me out of that factory job.
His ticket, his way out.
Is that his motivation? It seems like it might be his motivation is all right. Whatever happens is I cannot end up back where my dad was almost.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get.
Yeah, he kind of saw those different paths and experiences.
Because they don't have is the other part is that you don't. I'm not aware of AC/DC. Once they go international, I think financially they have smart money managers. Like it doesn't like I don't. I haven't come. I mean, I could be totally wrong on this. Like Steppenwolf gets famous, but all their business managers screw them over. Right? Like the business managers leave them broke, and then they have to rebuild. And when AC/DC with George kind of guiding them, like they don't have this. They don't end up broke, right? It doesn't appear. You know, they keep going on tour.
Yeah, he was looking out for them. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean they keep going on tour, so they don't
tour nonstop.
Yeah, they tour nonstop, but they don't end up back in the van down by the river either. So while they're on tour, it's like they seem like they're still doing rather well. Angus is definitely not working in a factory.
Yeah, he's living the dream, man. Living his dream.
Yeah. So it was like, so if you go back, so how much did George like give him confidence? I guess the other part of that question is, did that really, if George had not been successful in Easy Beats, what would he have been doing in like 75, 76? Would he have been playing the guitar as much if he didn't see his brother be super successful?
Right. Yeah. At what point would he carried that on, or maybe would he been like, all right, I gotta get a job and go to the factory?
So I don't think he was definitely not.
That was
not is like whatever happens, I am not working in the factory. Like he must have gone to the factory one day and I just like someone must have gotten like sucked in the furnace or something. You know, like some guy. You know what I mean? You watch someone get chopped in half, and after that, it was like so traumatic. It was like the factory is the 7th level of hell. You know, it was just there's no way I'm going back into the 7th level of hell. But the other side is like he's playing to a lot of factory workers in Australia. I mean, when you think about who the audience is, it's the working class workers, folks that are drinking Fosters. Yeah. All right, we're coming on to question 10, which is awesome because now Scamper is staring us down and is
cleaning his talons.
Yes, which means he's about to attack. So we need to wrap this up. Bon Scott. There's they talk about Bon. There's a couple people talk about Bon Scott being one of the first rock, maybe lead singers that's not a sex symbol. Like there's like he's as they pick Bon Scott to be out front. Mm-hmm. Like he's sort of every man's. Like in some ways he's sort of this he's got this hairy chest, which I don't know what people have against. I mean. Can't you be a sex symbol and have a hairy chest?
Yeah.
I feel like you could be a sex symbol.
Yeah.
Can't you?
Yeah, you can, right? Because this baby's loaded down with
I know. What is it? Like I feel like Malcolm. What was it?
Well, in that time frame, man, it weren't hairy chests like in that time frame.
I don't think so. Cause look at. I guess the Doors were back. Before that, but Beatles. Yeah, that was 70s. They were in the 70s. I guess you start seeing like the disco and you got the hairy chest thing going on a little bit. Like the man's man, like someone you'd have a beer with.
Yeah.
He's a man's man. He's a lumberjack. So my question to Angus was, as there was one of their other reasons they chose Bon, where like him and Malcolm, like all right. Was Dave just getting too many of the really pretty women? The really interesting women? Like was he getting too much attention from the really pretty women?
Interesting or pretty?
Both. Like interesting and pretty.
That's hard to find.
Yes. Yeah. So was he getting too much attention?
I feel like that's... What was it? Exile. Okay.
What do you think?
Interesting or pretty? I feel like someone's gonna be like, "Oh, there can't be both."
Yes, they can be both.
Yes, it can be both. Yeah, it can be both.
That's all you had to say. She was also worried about. I don't understand what you're saying at all.
I don't know. Just someone came over here and was like, "Listen, man, you can't say that because someone's gonna call you out and be like, that's freaking rude." I don't know. It felt like. I was just trying to put it out there that, hey, it can be both.
Yes, I suppose.
All right. So you think
the women that they were attracted to, say it that way. So the women they were attracted to were too many of them going to Dave, and
which
they were
can
like
both be interesting and pretty.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And were they like, we need somebody that is not going to attract the women we are attracted to.
Yes.
We need someone that's going to attract a very different type of woman so that we can get the women that are attracted to Dave attracted to Angus and Malcolm. Was this like a wingman kind of move?
That's
that
an
went down.
Interesting thing, yeah. I mean, groupies, I don't know, man. Like, were they? I'm sure that there was a lot of. Well, I have no idea because I wasn't there, but I feel like it could have been possibly a thing. Yeah.
Like maybe.
I don't know. I feel like Bon Scott was. I think the thing that drew them to Bon Scott was like, he was known for having a big personality, and he had awesome vocals, right? And I think that's what kind of for them kind of drew them to Bon Scott. They're like, yeah, this would be cool.
He does have a big personality. Yeah. Like we were talking about before, he amplifies his own personality. Like there's an interview of him on the streets. I think I found it was on YouTube. You can see Bon Scott in 1976, and he's wearing what effectively looked like Daisy Duke shorts, jean cutoffs. Like they're super tight, super low cut. He's like got his chest like hanging out.
Oh my gosh!
And it's just like he is out there. Like you're watching, and then they're on Angus's. I mean, when you look at Angus, he's dressed normal for he looks like a normal lad, but yeah, Bon Scott is like he's out there wearing this stuff. So it was like I think it would take a very special person to like find that. You're like yeah, that's Bon out there wearing Daisy Duke shorts and
that's awesome. It's hilarious. I think my dad has a pair of cut off like jean shorts. Is that what you're talking about? Like cut off jean shorts?
Yeah, but these had like V cut.
Oh.
No, I'm not talking about like jean shorts. So there's like the lawnmower shorts you would wear, like when you're mowing the lawn, and it's like they're torn in the back and your butt hangs out, but you don't care because like it's just the neighbors.
It was that short.
Well, these
butts hanging out when you're mowing the lawn.
Well,
I'm just saying that's kind of short for.
I'm saying like they're ripped. Like when you have a really nice pair of jeans that get really old and soft, and you're like, man, I'm gonna still wear them.
How high am I cutting these jeans?
Well, Bon Scott cut them pretty high. I'm saying when you mow the lawn, though, you might have a pair of don't you have like a pair of shorts you just keep wearing, or a pair of jeans you just keep wearing, even though they got holes in them?
I don't wear pants when I mow my
lawn. What do you wear when you mow your lawn?
I wear my Speedo because it's hot and it's breathable.
That is just bad visuals, my friend. Bad visuals.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of Chris Chocolaad Live. Thanks for tuning in. If you like the show, be sure to hit the subscribe button. We're going to go ahead and we will be pushing this out on a podcast here in a few days as well.
Awesome.
We have we have an upcoming performance tonight.
Woo. House teams.
There's the house
teams.
Backline. At the Backline. So if you're in Omaha, go out and see the backline.com.